Okay, I'm going to talk about Act 4. I'm going to quickly go over every scene, and then the importance of the thematic ideas and the literary devices thereof. So scene 1, Claudius and Gertrude are talking about Hamlet's murder of Polonius. Claudius sends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to find Hamlet, retrieve Polonius's body. This sets up the rest of the act. A lot of Act 4 is just setting up Act 5. Scene 2, Hamlet mocks Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and they kind of play back and forth with their words, like in Act 3 and 2. And Hamlet says, "The body is with the king." And this is in reference to King Claudius murdering Hamlet's father. Scene 3, Claudius talks about a disease poisoning Hamlet. This adds to the corruption theme, and the idea that ever since Claudius has been there, Denmark and Hamlet have been poisoned or diseased. Claudius orders Hamlet to be sent to England because he can't deal with him anymore. And you later find out that he wasn't really going to be sent to England. He was sent to England to be killed, essentially, by the king, and that's the letter that he's supposed to take with him. And then in scene 4, Hamlet meets with Fortinbras's army, and they're conquering this useless strip of land, and Hamlet gives this long monologue about how useless he is if they're willing to throw their lives away, conquering this little... It would be like a little strip of grass where nothing can grow because the soil is bad, and they're still throwing all their lives away to gain like 20 by 20 feet square foot of land. And Hamlet's like, that's crazy. And he's like, but if they're that crazy about that land, why can't I attack Claudius for my father? So he's making himself feel bad about that. That's basically that entire scene. Scene 5, Ophelia is kind of going crazy. The Simpsons do a really good parody of this. You should look it up. But Ophelia, essentially, for you to picture this scene, imagine one of your female friends comes back. You know she's been having guy issues or girl issues, and she comes back and she's like looking at you, and you're like, "Are you okay?" And she's just like, and then you're like, what's up? How are you feeling? And she just like responds with a song. Like you're like, "How are you doing, Ophelia?" And she's like, "Ashes, ashes, we all fall down." That's how Ophelia is acting. And so she's like saying nursery rhymes and all these weird little sing-songy things, and just kind of dances around the room, ignoring the king and the queen, and everyone's like, she's crazy. And Laertes comes in to kill Claudius because Polonius has died. And this sets up Laertes as Hamlet's foil, because Laertes is set up in similar situations with Hamlet and does like the exact opposite thing. So Hamlet spends the entire play acting crazy and manipulating everyone around him and trying to be coy when his father is killed, and Laertes just goes, "Oh, he's dead, I'm gonna go kill the king because it's his fault, I'm blaming him." And this will come into play later, but Laertes is really set up to be Hamlet's opposite in a lot of ways. So don't think of him as a bad guy, think of him as more as an antagonistic force, but not evil in any way, really. Scene 6, Horatio gets Hamlet's letter that he's coming back, and he has to talk to him about Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, which is a really funny scene, to me anyway, because Hamlet's basically like, "Yo, what's up? I had them killed, ahaha." And Horatio's like, "You what?" And he's like, "Yep, anyway." And Horatio was like, "Anyway?" And Hamlet's like, "Yep, we're gonna just gloss over that." Horatio's like, "Okay, aye, aye, Captain." And that's basically the whole scene, is just setting up Act 5 when Hamlet returns and talks to Horatio. Scene 7, Claudius and Laertes are planning Hamlet's death. Claudius is flattering Laertes about his swordsmanship while essentially talking about how much they hate Hamlet together. He's like, "Yo, I hear you hate my son, and also are good at stabbing people. Don't you think that's like a crazy coincidence, Laertes? And Laertes is like, yeah. What do you mean? And so they talk back and forth, and then Claudius is like, just, can you kill him, please? And Laertes is like, I mean, I guess, kind of weird. No, he's more excited about it than that, but they basically plot together until Gertrude comes in and announces that Ophelia has drowned herself. The most popular interpretation is that she has jumped into the river and sank down because of her weighted dress. The dresses back then being really thick and full of material that could be dragged down with water. So she jumps in, her clothes get wet, clothes start dragging her down, she can't get out of her dress, even if she wanted to, and she drowns. So Laertes starts furiously prepping for Hamlet's death, and this is the foil, and then there's basically the bad situation is continuing to corrupt things. Ophelia's death, is it the fault of Hamlet? Is it Claudius's fault for setting events in motion? Has Hamlet really been in control of his actions the whole time? Has he been crazy? Is he acting crazy? These are all questions that you can answer. I think Shakespeare probably had an intent, but there's a lot of ways for you to interpret it. This scene kind of acts as a bridge between the rest of the show and Act 5, where it continues the themes of previous acts and doesn't really add any new ones, except for in Scene 4, where there's all this about resolve and being willing to do what you have to do, what is right. While there's a lot of thematic discussion of like what is right and wrong and what to do and not to do by different codes and creeds, a lot of assumptions in what's right and wrong by each character, and each character goes about it differently. But essentially, Hamlet's speech in Scene 4 is about resolve and it being right to avenge your father. I'm going to leave you with that. That's this act. There's just a lot of events and not a ton of themes. I mean, you can drag themes out of any line in Shakespeare, but the main ones are the ones I already talked about. Scene 5, or Act 5, is where it really gets juicy. So read this act carefully. Maybe you'll find your own themes. Maybe you'll find the themes that Miss Denson is asking you to look for. But that is what I'm going to leave you with.